Geno, similar to what I asked Daisy, just the fact that they did push you in the first half and you had to respond, is that good to go through?
Yeah, I think it always is. When games are played where you're able to function without any kind of pressure whatsoever. The game is easier, and it's not realistic though that it's going to be like that. So it was good that to come out and have to play in the third quarter with a sense of teams like Villanova, the more you let them hang around and hang around and hang around, and it's this time of the year you don't want to play like that. It was, I thought, an opportunity. You don't get a lot of these. Sometimes you go through a couple weeks and you don't get a lot of opportunities. So it was really good, and hopefully it pays off tomorrow or next week, 2 weeks, whatever it is.
We'll go to T in the front row.
Hey, Coach T. Baker with the next. Similar question about Ice. Can you just talk about what you've seen from her the past 2 games and what you need from her to move forward in the postseason?
Yeah, it's hard to come back, when you don't play for an extended period of time. You have to kind of work your way back little by little. And I thought that, her response has been really, really good. I thought there were some things today that were not great. But it allows us to play differently. We can get Sarah more rest. We can put her, either with Jenna, with Sarah, by herself out there, and we play really small. And the fact that she's a threat to make a 3 like she did today, and like she did, I think, the last game, whenever it was. So it's a different dynamic, and Ice has a lot of ability, and hopefully she's able to channel that, and be consistent with it.
We'll go to Kari, back row left.
Hey, Coach. 16 rebounds for Sarah today. When she's aggressive like that and rebounding like that, what does that do for your team, and what is it about her game that lets her have nights like that?
Well, she's tremendously talented, obviously, and has a knack for where the ball is and where it's going. Not everybody has that. We had 4 offensive rebounds in the first half, and she got all 4 of them. I think the fact that she impacts. I think she had 14 yesterday, right, and 16 today. That's a pretty good 2-day stretch, but she impacts the game in every single area. Whether she's defending somebody and it's a steal, whether it's a block shot, whether it's a defensive rebound, an offensive rebound. I always like to think that we don't want to play with both Sarah and Paige on the bench. That's not something that's good for us. That's how important I think she is. I'm okay with Paige being out of the game as long as Sarah's in the game, because I think she, it's more like having 2 or 3 players out there instead of just 1.
We'll go to Doug in the front row.
Geno, it sounds like the players took some ownership at half about their lack of defense in the first half. For the last month, it seems, since the South Carolina game, he's been playing really well on that end of the court. I think you had 10 minutes yesterday without St. John scoring, 16 minutes today without Nova hitting a basket. What is about you guys in defense? It seems come March, you're usually where you want to be, it seems.
Yeah, that has to be the foundation for everything at this time of the year. As you saw last night, there's no guarantees that open threes are going to go in. You know, you like to think that, yeah, we're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. They're always going to go in. They're not. So you've got to, you know, you've got to play a different level defensively in March than you do during a regular year. And that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And I'm glad they took some ownership of it. That's what they're supposed to do. I think you're supposed to be prideful in your defense. You know, you want to be somebody that can be counted on, you know, on the defensive end. And I just think that sometimes we get a little bit overconfident and we get a little bit too comfortable. And this is not the time of the year for that. You know, this is the time of the year when you're actually trying to, you know, get people to, you know, score single digits in the quarter. That's the goal.
Front row, Dom.
Yeah, Dom Amori, Hartford Current. Geno, what was your approach or your tack in the second quarter and at halftime? Were you angry with what you were saying, or were you more methodical in correcting things? Were you, what was your, you know, what was your tone to the team at that point?
During the second quarter or in the locker room at halftime? I think there was one incident in the second quarter where it was a little bit heated in the huddle, because I felt like it wasn't just one incident or one time or one player, you know, that it was kind of like everybody. And I don't know that we had the focus that we needed to have. And no matter how much you convince players, you know, Villanova's scrappy. They know they're always undersized. They know that they're playing teams that maybe have more talent than them. And they play hard, and they're tough kids. And they didn't believe me, you know, and that's why I think Villanova did such a good job on the offensive boards, you know. So, yeah, I was pretty animated, pretty angry during that second quarter. Halftime, not so much, you know. I've learned with this particular team, and maybe just in general anymore, if you are like that too often, they kind of tune you out. You know, they don't want to hear it anymore. You made your point, let's move on. So it was more, you know, this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it, and let's go. And that seems to work with these guys.
We'll go to Eric in the back right.
Eric Dobratz, News 8. Coach, when you're going through a little lull, for the last couple of years, you've wanted Paige to be more selfish. And in
Yeah.
that second quarter, is that you're kind of standing there going, yes, that's what I want? And do you have to say that to her, or is it over these years?
No, I mean, she knows by now. You know, we've evolved in our relationship. You know, I think she takes everything I say as a suggestion. So, you know, I got to cross my fingers and hope that, you know, it lands in the right place. But when the game got close, when they took the lead, I think that more than anything I could say then was the turning point for her, because at that point then she just started playing and started kind of taking it upon herself, which is good and bad, don't get me wrong. I think it's great, you know, because she's the one that can, you know, have that kind of impact. And I didn't have to say it. I didn't have to do anything. I think she just instinctively has to know these things. You know, I say, you don't pass the ball enough. Like, other guys didn't even get to touch the ball in the second quarter. I said, that's not how you want to play basketball. So, you know, I confuse her more than I help her.
Second row in the middle, Maggie.
Maggie Benoni, Hersey Team Media. Kind of on that same note, do you feel like it's more comfortable for her now to take the open shot instead of passing it up?
I mean, I don't understand it. You know, there was one time in the huddle where I asked her why she needed 3 or 4 dribbles to get a shot that she had after 1 dribble, and a lot of times after 2. So I think there's little things that help her, you know. She always gets the other team's best defender. It's always really, really hard for her to get a lot of daylight, and when she does, it's you know, second and a half, and you don't want to waste it dribbling the ball when you got an opportunity to shoot it. Today, I think was the first time in quite some time where she actually just took the ball and wanted to play one-on-one with whoever was guarding her, which I think that's what we've been striving for. Yes, there is a time, and there's still times where, I think she has a lot of confidence in her teammates, which is really good. So a combination of the two going into the tournament is probably what serves us best.
Stay in the second row, Emily.
Emily Adams, Hartford Current. How valuable is the consistency that you've gotten from AZ over these last few games, both offensively and defensively especially?
Yeah, with AZ, it's kind of weird, because everybody knows of her as a shooter, as a scorer, and I know she wants to be more than that. And the interesting thing about AZ is she puts a lot of pressure on herself. She like you said, when she's shooting the ball, she's got all these things going probably through her head, analyzing every shot, every aspect of the shot, and puts a lot of pressure on herself. So I tend to not put any pressure on her. And conversation recently, I told her that, and she said, I'm not a baby, I can take it. You can coach me harder. So usually it's things that she's already good at that I want to remind her that if you're not doing those things, then you're not being AZ Foot. And a lot of these kids, it's interesting because they don't want to hurt the team. So they think if I don't take this open shot, if I'm not shooting well, I'm not going to shoot it, and that's what hurts the team. So, they're so self-conscious about I want to do the right thing, and you have to remind them the right thing is, you have to do this on the offensive end, and then when that happens, you remind her that she has an incredible ability to play defense, but in a different way than, let's say, KK or Sarah or those guys. And you saw today how many steals she came up with, how many times she got the ball. So players that are really good shooters, like AZ, they go through slumps too. And you can still impact the game a lot of different ways. And that's a lot. That's a lot.
Carl, front row.
Carl Adam at Hearst Media. Geno, 30 wins on the season. I think that's 28 out of 32 seasons. I know you like to talk about when 20 wins was a good season, so has 30 become the new 20?
Yeah, that used to be the standard for coaches, how many 20-win seasons you have. I don't know that if we won 20 games in a season, there'd probably be a lot of people sitting here in front of me, but it wouldn't be for that reason, for the same reason that you're here tonight. So 20 has become, like anything else, I think at UConn, the numbers that I get reminded of are so, really, they're hard to comprehend because they don't make any sense. So standards are out of whack, and yet, you keep getting there, so it makes it normal. So now 30 is normal, which is ridiculous to even say it. How many teams have won 30 games, 28 out of 32 times. How many? I don't even know. Yeah, ask Anna. So these things.
Would you win the other 4, 29?
What's that?
The other 4 years, would you win 29?
You know what? We did have 29.
29, 28, 25.
Yeah, we did have 29 one time. I think it was when the game, when it was bubble, right?
28, yeah,
Yeah, the season was canceled. Yeah, the season was canceled, which is really good because that team kind of sucked. And if we went to the NCAA tournament, we would have got our asses kicked. So not that I wished anybody ill will when, you know, the season was canceled, but I was pretty happy. Yeah, there's no way that team was going to the Final Four. No chance. No chance. But somehow, you know, we managed to, you know, to get that. It's the consistency is probably what, you know, Paige talks about it a lot. I think that's the thing that makes us the most proud of ourselves, that, you know, we've been able to do it, and not a lot of people have.
We'll go to Anthony in the back right.
Anthony Price, C-Tubes Magazine. Coach, Jana El-Alfi had 7 points, 7 rebounds, played about 21 minutes. How would you assess her performance tonight?
She's making progress, you know, by putting together longer stretches, you know. There's still a lot left that she's, I think, capable of doing, but we're getting more consistent each game, each day in practice. Things are, you know, starting to make sense to her. Hard in these games because there's nobody for her to guard sometimes, you know. But at the same time, if there's nobody for her to guard, because they play with 5 guards, it seems like, then there's nobody that should be able to guard her either. So we're trying to let her understand that what hurts her on one end should be a big, huge asset on the other end, and little by little, she's getting it.
Any other questions for Coach? We'll go back left, last question.
Hi there, Patrick Boots from WHUS. You mentioned yesterday's game was a little gritty. Villanova, obviously a different type of contender today. Do you feel that this game was smoother? Other things to work on maybe for tomorrow?
Yeah, there's always things. And there's 2 teams playing right now that their styles are polar opposites, right? So you don't know what kind of team you're playing tomorrow. One team presents one set of challenges, and other teams, like today and yesterday. Yesterday, the challenge that St. John's posed, completely different than today. Points were easier to come by today than they were yesterday, because the offense just flowed, and it was great, you know, Paige. But yesterday, we guarded the hell out of St. John's. Today, we didn't guard Villanova in the first half. So every game that you play, you come out of it feeling like we played the game that was meant to be played that day. And today's game meant to be played this way. How it will be tomorrow, I don't know. Depends on who we play. But when it's all said and done, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter who we play as much as what are we controlling that we can control. And tomorrow will be a lot harder than it was today, for sure. And it's supposed to be, right?
Coach, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.